What's up, and welcome to Surging Ahead. Over the last few days, Elon's been sending out a lot of tweets about what's going on with the Cybertruck, and I kind of wanted to spend some time going over what we actually know about the Cybertruck at this point in time, what has changed since initial launch, what we still don't know, and when are we going to actually get it. So stick around, and we'll dig in. So about 2 years ago, Tesla came out and announced the Cybertruck. It was very divisive. Some people really liked it. I hated it. I was not a fan at all. I thought, why would anyone want to drive those things? I still pre-ordered one. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I looked again, and I was like, alright, maybe there's something to it. And over time, it grew on me. I still don't think it's the most attractive vehicle, but the specs are very nice on it, and there's a lot to like about it, and I think over time I would grow to like it even more. But as for now, it's definitely a controversial product. It looks a little strange, and take it or leave it, right? But it was supposed to be shipping by now. People were supposed to have them in their hands. One of my really early pre-orders possibly was even supposed to have it now, if not early next year. At this point, I have no idea when it's going to ship. Probably not next year. If it does, very limited quantities. I wouldn't be surprised if that's 2023. But what has me a little concerned is the amount of changes that they've talked about. And today, we got hit with several more. So let's go ahead and pull up some of Elon's tweets here. So the first tweet I want to talk about came in response to a tweet from Holmar's catalog, where he says, "Rumor has it that the Cybertruck is no longer configurable on the Tesla site because they are debating getting rid of the single motor version, having only 2, 3, and 4 motor variants." To which Elon replied, "Initial production will be 4 motor variant with independent ultra-fast response torque control of each wheel." And then goes on to say, "Insane technology bandwagon." Right? So what's interesting to me is that Elon replied to that tweet where they talk about getting rid of the single motor variant and does not actually acknowledge that. However, he does talk about the new 4 motor variant, and so that's cool. But also, this is now the initial production, which will be a variant that wasn't even available for pre-order at all. Which this is the second time they've changed their mind on what the initial production would be. The initial production was supposed to be the single and dual motor versions. And then last year, Elon went ahead and changed that to it will be the tri-motor version that's getting produced first. And now we have this quad motor variant, which was never mentioned being the first variant that they're going to produce. So, I don't know, lots of changes there. Kind of interesting. So someone was asking about it, and Marv asked, could it run like a tank? And Elon replies, we'll have both front and rear wheel steer, so not just like a tank, it can drive diagonally like a crab. I think this may just be in response to what Rivian and GM are doing, or Rivian with the R1T and GM are doing with the Hummer to get that crab walk thing going on. Anyway, I guess cool on the crab. I don't know how valuable that'll be in everyday life, but that should give you a very good turn radius, so that part I think could be pretty useful. Another response here is, so for those of us with tri-motor reservations, or maybe all, we'll have option to upgrade. When do you expect to announce pricing? And so Elon initially responds, product roadmap update on next earnings call, which he talked about a little bit earlier. Here's another odd thing. Elon's said he was not going to be doing earnings calls in the future, but from everything, it sounds like he'll be back on this earnings call, so I'm not really sure why he took one earnings call off and then is coming back. I guess that's just Elon being Elon. And then our final tweet here, he did also come back and say, but yes, to that tweet asking about being able to change your reservations. And that could be really cool for me, considering I had a early reservation, which I did the dual motor spec of. But over time, I've become convinced that I probably would actually like the larger or longer range of the tri-motor configuration. So I have a second pre-order for tri-motor, which is way, way further down the line. But if I could upgrade my dual motor to a tri-motor or a quad motor, I guess, and still be able to keep that FSD pricing, that would be cool. But I guess overall, I'm a little bit concerned about all these changes. If they're dropping that single motor variant, then there goes the $40,000 Cybertruck, which I think a lot of people were really excited about. And the specs for that single motor Cybertruck were not terrible, although they canceled the shorter range Model Y because it had under 300 miles of range, and the single motor Cybertruck was also going to have under 300 miles of range. But still, that was a relatively inexpensive, nice looking product that I could have seen people wanting. And if they are really killing that, I think that's a pretty big deal. And if this is the second time, and really even the Model 3, they did release a $35,000 variant, but for a very brief period of time, and then made it really hard to get. And it's sort of starting to feel like a bit of a bait and switch. And I just wish they were a little more upfront about these things. And if you weren't planning on producing a $40,000 variant, then don't talk about the $40,000 variant. And it could also just be that it's the economy now. Inflation's been pretty high over these last couple of years. When Tesla initially announced this, they couldn't have foreseen COVID and all these other things, which appear to have had a pretty substantial impact on, the consumer price index. So everything we buy seems to be more expensive now, and it may just be impractical for them to make a $40,000 truck, and the easiest way to take care of that problem is just to pull it out, keep a dual motor in there, and go with that. But those aren't the only changes which have me a little concerned. Some of the technology stack they've talked about, I also don't love. With the Model S Plaid and Model X Plaid and the new versions of those, they introduced the yoke steering wheel. In those vehicles, that makes sense to me, right? Because you have a display right in front of the driver that they may want to see, and you can get a better view with the yoke. It makes some sense to want to do that. But with the Cybertruck, I don't really get it. It does not appear to be a better experience than a steering wheel. Maybe it looks neat, but it's a car. I want the best experience on using it. It does not provide a tangible benefit of being able to see the display in front of him, because at least in the pre-production initial unveil, there was no driver's display there, so you don't gain anything else out of there. And it just seems a little odd that that's coming out. But it was also, I will admit that they did show the prototype with that yoke steering wheel, so maybe it was always the plan, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of changes for the sake of changes without any practicality purposes for them. And at least you could argue you get a better view of the front display, that instrumentation cluster. For the Model S and X, you don't get that with the Cybertruck. So I'm not sure I really get where the yoke comes into effect there, and it doesn't seem like a great decision. They also talk about no door handles. I have a Model X. I use my Model X almost every day, and I have the feature turned on to automatically pop the driver's side door open as it senses you approaching. And it works, but it's slow. So when you walk up, I'll walk up, and if I'm waiting for it to go, I have to wait there for a couple of seconds for it to pop. I also have kids. Most of the time, I don't go to my door first. I go to the rear doors, open those up, load the kids in, and go into the door. With the Model X right now, I have the buttons to push for the rear doors to open those up. And a lot of times while I'm waiting for that door to open up, I'll actually get hit by my door, which finally decides to pop while the other ones are going up. Kind of annoying. It probably wouldn't be an issue with the Cybertruck because I'd be waiting for that one to pop then to get in. But if there's no door handles, how does it know which doors you want to get in? Is it automatically popping the driver door open, then you have to push buttons on the screen to open the others? Does it detect you're waiting in front of a door? That also doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're not going to walk to in front of the driver's side door for that to pop open, because it would hit you, right? So you'd stand behind it, likely, so it would open in front of you, and then you could get in. How are you opening those other doors? I don't know. That also seems like a needless change. Give me door handles. It just makes more sense. More often than not, like I said, I'm opening the kids' doors first and getting them loaded. That's not a problem for everybody, but there's a large portion of the population that does have children, and if it's difficult to get them loaded into the car, that kind of dissuades them from buying this particular vehicle. So anyway, I don't want to go off on a rant on what's wrong with the Cybertruck. I think there's a lot right with it. I love the prices they have it at. I think it's cool that they're releasing a 4-motor variant, another performance-oriented vehicle, but it does seem odd that they get all this excitement built for a product, and then none of the versions they announced are actually going to be first release, even though hundreds of thousands of people have placed orders on those products. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing here. It seems a little weird to me, and I'm not a fan of this communication thing. I wonder how many changes have happened with this vehicle over its entire lifespan. So, anyway, let me know what you think. Are these changes good? Are you happy to see these changes happen with the Cybertruck? Do you think these will be beneficial to the product? Do you think I'm freaking out about nothing? Anyway, I am happy to hear all this information about it. So even if it's not exactly what I was looking to see, it doesn't really fill in a whole lot of details on what the actual product will be at launch or when it will launch, I am happy to have a bit more information on it, even if it's completely out of left field. So thanks for watching. This has been Brett with Surging Ahead. Have a great day.